Imagine as you get off work, you go to the supermarket, you're in the produce aisle. You make a sharp left to the dairy section to pick up that milk, those eggs. And then in the pit of your stomach, you're worried about what's waiting for me around the corner. Am I going to make it home to my family to make dinner? Or will my life end in the supermarket that I visit every day? Imagine going to the movies and your focus is not on your date and how beautiful they look. It's not on the movie that's playing on the screen or how bad you want to see it. Imagine if your whole concern is, am I going to become a part of the action? And is my life going to be in danger? Where are the exits? How do I get out here in case of a mass shooting? Imagine as you get your kids dressed in the morning to go to school, taking a mental picture of what they're wearing, having a conversation, not how to behave in school, not about their lessons, not about their homework or lunch, or the respect they should show your teacher, but how to stay safe and stay alive in case of a mass shooting. Remembering what they're wearing in case you have to identify their body. Imagine this being the country you live in. Imagine trying to argue, debate, to be separated as a country on. Do we protect ourselves? Do we protect our right to feel safe? Or do we protect our freedoms? What choice would you make? What side of the coin would you fall on? How do you feel? How would you feel? How do you feel knowing that this is the country we live in today? Let's discuss that and so much more in today's episode of the Past to Present podcast with your host, Alan the Great. Stay tuned. We currently live in a country where we got one of the greatest governments in the world, one of the greatest presidents ever in history. We live in a country where we feel so safe that we can leave our doors unlocked. We go to the supermarket, the mall, and send our kids to school without any worry of danger of any kind. We live in a country where we don't need guns no more, so the Second Amendment probably should wipe off the books, right? Who the hell am I kidding? Who am I lying to? We got a president right now who tweets so much with concern that one day he might get upset with the media and tweet out not only nuclear codes and where all nuclear asylums at in America and Turkey and Alaska and everywhere else, but also the security codes for White House, just to let everybody know how much he's in control and how much information he knows about the country. That's how unstable our government is right now. We're dealing with unstable government, and more importantly, we're living in a world and a country right now where people don't feel safe. Before, when we get a call from a school, we used to get all upset, and as a parent, we were like, oh man, Lord, what Johnny did today? Oh gosh, I thought I had a conversation with him this morning. What did he did today? And you had concern that your child was throwing the milk in the lunchroom, or he ran out of the classroom, or he got into a fist fight on the playground. Now getting a text or alert from school causes a whole different type of panic in us as parents. A panic that there's an armed shooter on the premises of our child's school, that our child is in danger. And not only is our child in danger, but we're too far away to be able to protect our child. That we're in a position now where we're completely defenseless in protecting our child from a possible hostile shooter who's looking to cause death. We live in a country right now that when we go to a mall, just to do Christmas shopping, we got concern of an active shooter there, of somebody just coming out and having a bad day or having a mental breakdown and coming to the mall and just causing mass terror, just killing people. We live in a time where we can't go to a concert no more without being concerned shooting. The worst part is we live in a time now where empathy, moral compass doesn't exist. I mean, think about it. When the Pulse nightclub shoot happened, Sandy Hook happened, El Paso happened, when Dylan Roof went into that church, and killed all them black people after praying with them, congregating them with them for hours. What do? We put up a post on our social media account saying, pray for these places, pray for the family members. Then when the next media story come out, we move on with our lives. We move on to cat videos, to the next meme, but forget about them victims who were left picking up the pieces to their lives after losing their loved ones to a senseless shooting. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be done in America because mass shootings have now become the new normal. It's new normal where we don't even flinch when we hear a mass shooting. It's become the new normal where we desensitize to it. Become new normal that when we hear a mass shooting, we just lift up a prayer and move on our lives. But it's not the same for the victims of these mass shootings. It's not the same for the family members whose children were murdered in school at the Sandy Hook. It's not the same for the Dylan Roof victims, or the victims at El Paso, or the ones in Las Vegas. But what can be done? Because there's a debate on both sides. You got the left side, the right side, and they're debating on gun control. They're debating on the Second Amendment. And is the Second Amendment being infringed on? Because in the Second Amendment, it speaks about how militias should be able to bear arms to protect a free state. It talks about in the Second Amendment how citizens' rights to bear arms should not be infringed upon, especially by the government, and that our rights to bear arms to protect us from a rogue government. But where does those words come from? Because, of course, back when the Second Amendment was written, the Bill of Rights was written, they weren't speaking about Donald Trump. They weren't speaking about the current life that we're living now, the current situation, the current status that our country is in. They were speaking about, and before we get into any history, because I know y'all don't want to hear about no history, here's what we're going to do from now on the show. Before we talk about history, I'm going to tell everybody to cover your ears. Let's practice right now, cover your ears, because we're about to talk about something in history. What they were talking about was a rogue state was when the British controlled the 13 colonies of America. And after the British fought with the French in the Indian War and gained more land in America, they lost a lot of money. The economy started being bad, so what do? You tax your citizens. So they came with the stamp tax, the tea tax. You ever heard this expression? Taxation without representation? That's where it came from. Taxation without representation comes from we were being taxed without being able to speak. Citizens was being forced to pay higher taxes without having an opinion. Think about it now. You wouldn't be with it. You're not with it. We're having a discussion about freedom of Second Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of media. Back then, you didn't have representation. You didn't have a voice. You truly didn't have the freedom we take advantage of today. That led to militias fighting back against the British, dressing up like Indians in Massachusetts, getting on a boat and dumping tea in the water, which was the most expensive tea party ever thrown, also known as the Boston Tea Party. But that was a rogue government. The British was a rogue government which was taxing high taxes on the country, on the citizens. And the citizens revolted, coming up with the Revolutionary War to shape what we now know as America. The Constitution was then written up. Bill of Rights was there to support the Constitution. The Bill of Rights is rights that we all as Americans take for granted every day. Freedoms that we take for granted every day that we don't appreciate. But in the fine print of the Bill of Rights, we didn't write about AR-15s, AK-47s, and the dangers they pose on ordinary citizens. Or what weapons are we right to bear arms? Like what specific weapons are us as American citizens allowed to have? When we look at the fine print of the Bill of Rights, we sit there going through it, we're looking at it, we're reading over it, flip it over. You know how we do when we read a contract and we think we missed something? It's nowhere in there. Then we think back to when our founding fathers wrote up the Bill of Rights, what kind of guns was they using? And were they able to cause mass destruction, mass shootings? They had muskets. Take you 16 seconds to load it. So think about this: if you got a musket right now and you're using a musket to protect your house, okay? Protecting your house against somebody, a robber, or anybody. Take 16 seconds. So when you fire that first shot off, you gotta literally tell the robber, listen, All right, listen. I need you to stand out there for a second. I need to reload my gun real quick so I can, get another shot off you to protect my family. Nowadays, you got AR-15s, AK-47s that shoot 15 rounds in 10 seconds. Guns that can shoot 750 rounds in a minute. Yo, imagine that. And how much damage it can cause. Imagine not being able to protect yourself from that. Imagine when you go into movies. How do you feel when you go into movies right now? After the Dark Knight shooting, my wife, she didn't really want to go to the movies. She didn't want to go to the movies no more. I don't know how she feels today. We have gone to movies since, but she didn't feel comfortable going to movies. And realistically, I'm going to let you in on a little secret that I haven't even told her. Never said this to her before, and this is going to be the first time she hears it. When we go to the movies today, to this day, when I go to the movies, the first thing I'm doing is I'm not focused on what's on the screen. How bad I want to see this movie. How good the movie is. Is it going to be interesting? Is it going to be dumb? I'm looking at the exit strategies, planning out how I can get out here in case somebody decides to come in and shoot up the movie theater. Fear now drives our thoughts. It drives the way we look at people. When people come into the movie theater now, aren't we all sitting there as the preview's running, just watching people's actions, their body language, trying to figure out what's their true intentions? Are they here to watch a movie? Or are they here to cause death, mass destruction, interrupting our lives, and our ability to leave this movie theater and go home to our families? What are we doing now? What do we see? What do we feel? There's a battle brewing over the Second Amendment. Many fear, and many being the gun owners, the NRA, feel like taking the Second Amendment away is stripping away the guns. Politicians and Democratic candidates right now are debating gun buybacks, where they buy back automatic assault rifles, but don't give, once again, we got to go back to the fine print, little small print, but not are clear of exactly what do you consider assault rifles, banned guns, automatic weapons that you're trying to buy back. So does that mean the handgun that the family across the street is using, that they have in their home, just as protection against criminals, people with criminal minds ready to break in? Are we talking about handguns? Or are we talking about the AR-15 that the guy around the corner is stocking up ammunition to possibly go to a Walmart to cause massive terror? What are we talking about? What's the clear statement of what's happening? If we roll back the Second Amendment, is our other rights being put in jeopardy? We all know how our current government feels about the media. Are we losing the freedom of media? Or are we going to lose the freedom of speech? Is that next? What happens? That's the concern, the feelings of many gun owners. That if they pass off and they hand off their automatic weapons, that they're putting their other rights in danger, other rights in fear. But at the same time, we got to look at it from the other angle. Let's look at it from the angle of the victims, of family members of the Pulse nightclub shooting, El Paso shooting. The victims of the families of Dylan Roof. The family victims of Sandy Hook. Let's talk about those victims and how they see it. They see it if these automatic weapons were not on the streets. If they weren't so easily accessible, then celebrating Christmas will feel a lot different. Birthdays, holidays will feel a lot different. That pain that still sits in the deep end of their gut, that hole they feel in their heart, that missing seat at the Thanksgiving table is all filled. But is it that simple? Is it that simple by removing automatic weapons off the shelves of Walmarts and gun stores? Military-grade weapons not being allowed by regular citizens, would that truly be the end of mass shooting? Is it that simple to just remove them and no longer have this problem? Well, we got to analyze how these automatic weapons are getting on the streets and where they come from. Think about this for a second as we talk about automatic weapons. AK-47s, where do they come from? One of the most exported items that come from Russia. Russia's not known for their automobiles. They're not known for their clothes. Maybe their vodka. But more than anything, AK-47s, a gun that's so easily used that even a child can operate. A gun that doesn't jam. A gun that fires. A gun that is dependable. And a gun that causes massive damage and massive casualties. A weapon of destruction. A weapon of death. And you think about it, cover your ears, people, because we're going to go in history. Remember, cover your ears. We're going to talk about history for a second. But during the Cold War, the ending of the Cold War gave us several things. One, it gave us AK-47s because unprotected, unmanaged caches of guns, AK-47s, were left for people to steal and sell to gun runners who were not selling them to the local store, but to criminals who were out to cause massive destruction, not just in America, but other countries. Not only that, during the Cold War was the only other time that our children had to learn to huddle under a desk in case of a military or a strike from Russia, from Cuba. Military strikes. Think about it. How far have we came from the Cold War to where we are now? And our children are being trained in school uncomfortably to deal with if an armed shooter is on the premises of school. Parents are on their edges at work, at home, as they drop their kids off, always trying to remember to tell their kids how much they love them. Take one more good look at them, what they're wearing, in case they have to identify their bodies. This is the new reality that many of us deal with and many of us see every single day. Not to promote fear, but to promote truth. It's why we're having a discussion about the Second Amendment. But what do? Do we peel back the Second Amendment? Do we peel back the right for us to bear arms to protect ourselves? Because many of us as citizens feel like if you take away our arms, then you're leaving us out here naked. And I don't mean naked like we ain't got no clothes on and we're out here butt naked, just everything out, hanging out. I'm not talking about that kind of naked. I'm talking about naked with the fact that we don't have no way of protecting ourselves when the criminal-minded is out here with guns, looking to do harm, because they're not going to the local gun store to purchase these automatic weapons. They're not going to a gun show to purchase these automatic weapons. Most of them are going in places where you're not supposed to go. They're going down the back alley to get the black market to get these firearms. But what about the people who are? What about the Dylan Roofs of the world who are going to purchase these guns legally or get them from their parents? What about those people? Well, the government has mentioned a red flag program. Red flag program is still in Congress, have not been voted on, but gives many states the right to temporarily, and we gotta look at the fine print here, the fine small print, temporarily remove guns from people who are a danger to themselves or others. Now we gotta focus on that word, temporarily. So if they temporarily take them away, that means they're eventually going to get them back. Now at what point? What point do they get them back? Does that mean their minds change? Did we have a way to prove and to understand that they have changed their minds and they're not out to harm people? We got to look at this from both sides of the aisle and stop making it about Democrats, Republicans, left and right, and make it about life. We got to learn to gain back our moral compass. We got to learn to have empathy for people, learn to care about people, and not allow people's deaths and family members who are going through this hurt just look at this as just simply a post on social media, a prayer that we send up, but there's no more done about it. The Second Amendment, like all of our amendments, all of our rights that we take for granted, should be protected. But we gotta reanalyze and relook at, why do we need military weapons on the streets? Why does regular citizens need military weapons? Has it gotten that bad with our government? Has it gotten that rogue that we now need military weapons to protect our families? Or do we need to just reanalyze our truths? Are we really fighting to protect the Second Amendment? Or are we afraid because all of us, no matter your race, gender, have lost something, that we're now fearful that something else is being threatened to be taken away from us? Think about it, the victims of Sandy Hook, Dylan Roof, El Paso, Pulse Nightclub, and all these Columbine, Virginia Tech, all these family members lost something. They're not in danger of losing something, they lost something. They lost loved ones that they'll never see again, never hug again, never be able to physically tell them they love them, buy them a gift, celebrate a birthday. And many of us is in fear of losing something as well. We're in fear of not only becoming victims and losing our sense of protection, protecting our family, our protection of freedom to actually go to a mall, to go to the movie theater because, me and you and your spouse didn't have, a date night in a while, you want to get fresh and go to the movie theater, but you're more fearful about what's going to happen. Then you got the other side, people who are just fearful about losing their right to bear arms and feeling naked out here to protect themselves. We all need to stop looking at left and right and meet right down the middle and figure out how we can protect our children, not before they're dead, but while they're still alive. Because a lot of times we protect our kids after they're dead. We try to make these choices and decisions after our children or loved ones are gone, instead of trying to make them while they're alive, while we still can protect them and still can live. You gotta make decisions. As we look at history, history has taught us a lot. World War II has taught us a lot. Cover your ears, people. We're going to briefly talk about World War II. Cover your ears. It's taught us that mass destruction and mass death and mass casualties only cause mass pain. At some point, more has to be done. More pressure has to be done on politicians, but more has to be done with us. And we got to find love and empathy. A moral compass has to exist inside of us where we care about protecting our children, care about protecting our family, care about protecting our wives and husbands. Because one day you call your wife, hey, I forgot the milk. Can you get the milk because I need to make this cake for dinner or make this dessert for dinner? And your husband or wife go to the Walmart to get that milk but never make it home because of a mass shooting because some guy or some woman decide they want to play God and kill people. We need to protect those people. We need to learn how to protect ourselves while protecting our Second Amendment. What are you going to do? Are you going to stand by and watch? Wait for the next mass shooting, hoping and praying that you or your loved one is not a victim? Or are we going to speak up and say it's time to have the conversation? It's time for change. It's time for us to get real. Think about it. The time has come. None of us can sit on the sidelines because, to be honest with you, no matter how much money you're worth, no matter your gender, the color of your skin, where you live, none of us exempt from being caught up in the next mass shooting. And none of us want to get the phone call from our child's school that their school is under siege and there's not a damn thing we can do to protect them. As a parent myself, this is a reality I live with every day. As a husband, this is a reality I live with every day. As an American, it's a reality that you live with every day. So it's not about what side of the line you vote on, what color of skin you are. It's about protecting our family. It's about learning to love each other again. And stop getting caught up in media, which is all this hate, separation, anger, which is only driving these mass shootings. It's time to have the conversation. To not only protect our rights to bear arms, but our children and our family members' rights to live and grow old. I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of the Past to Present Podcast. I'm your host, Alan the Great. Before I go, I only got one thing left to say to y'all. Stay tuned. Peace.